Edition of The Accomplished Woman with Kathy Mendel, the show for accomplished women who are serious about their retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and it is my joy to be able to be with Kathy Mendel herself. Yes. She is the president and founder of Theia Financial. My friend, how are you this week?
I'm great, and what a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk to you and our viewers about the issues surrounding a successful retirement for women.
Absolutely. It's something we are both so passionate about. And if you are just joining us for the first time, Kathy and I always jam-pack these episodes full of valuable information for you, our viewers at home. And last week, we dove very deeply into Social Security and really talked about a lot of the rules and the things that you need to be aware of. We're going to pick up where we left off and talk about some more important things surrounding Social Security, specifically for women. But Kathy, before we do that, I would love for you to represent, if someone's joining us for the first time, what is the importance of really figuring out this Social Security piece of the puzzle into someone's overall retirement financial plan?
You know, giving up a paycheck and planning for the next phase of life, that's actually a very big deal.
It's a huge transition.
It's a very big transition. And as an accomplished woman, you've been in charge of your life. You've known how to handle money. You've known how to run your life. You've run maybe a business or corporation. And now you're moving into a phase of life where new decisions need to be made.
Yes.
And the decisions that surround your income and your income that you're going to live on isn't actually, it's a very big decision. There's a lot that goes into that. Yes. Social Security is definitely a piece of that.
Yep.
There's a quote that I read years ago from Donald Rumsfeld, and he said, you know, there are known knowns. Now, these are the things that you know that you know.
Yes.
Okay? And then there are known unknowns, and these are the things that you know that you don't know. And then there are the unknown unknowns. And these are the things that you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
Now that's the issue when it comes to putting together a solid retirement plan. Diving into all the nuances of things like Social Security is you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why it's so important as you move into this phase and you begin to really get serious about this and you're thinking, okay, you might even have a countdown clock on your phone that says, you know, 1,020 days until I retire, you know. But the point is that you need to work with, you need to find that financial firm that's a specialist in the areas that are going to become very important to you, and one of those is Social Security.
Absolutely. Well, and I know you and I have shared before, and we talked about a little bit on last week's episode, that there are so many rules that come into play. And if you're not careful, those unknown unknowns can really trip you up because it negatively affects how much you can then obtain from Social Security. And we are all about accomplished women being able to maximize and optimize what is rightfully yours, especially when it comes to your Social Security check. So I know we talked a lot last week about women who are married, women who have been divorced. Let's talk a little bit about the provisions for widowhood, because let me tell you, ladies, listen up. 80% of men die married. So what does that tell you right there? That because as women, we are living longer, a lot of us are going to be doing some of this on our own at some point in time, and the rules for Social Security change. So let's start with widowhood and specifically rules around Social Security for that.
Well, the interesting thing about the survivor's benefit, or the widow's benefit as it can also be called, they're the same thing, is that the provisions for widowhood are not tied to the other types of withdrawals, such as individual, married, or divorced. It stands on its own. It's the only one that can be combined with another type of withdrawal. We'll explain that to you in just a second.
Yes.
So when a spouse passes away, the thing that happens is that it's called stepping into their shoes. If they pass away, if your spouse passes away and their benefit is higher than yours, you lose yours entirely, and you step into theirs.
You get the higher benefit.
You get the higher benefit, and actually, you don't. The technical terms are different than that, but that's essentially what's happening.
We like to break it down and translate it in layman's terms. Yes.
So that if let's say you're both in your 80s and one of you passes away, then the other one, just gets their Social Security and they continue to live. But they do have a gap because now they're missing part of their income. But let's say that you were married and your husband passed away in their 50s. Okay.
Yep.
So what are the rules that surround that? Well, that's an interesting one because first of all, I'm going to tell you a story about someone. Then we'll go back and we'll take a look at how it works out.
Perfect. We love story time with Kathy.
Okay.
Always learn so much from the people that you've been able to help.
Yeah. So this is somebody I've been working with recently, and Connie's husband that's the very thing that happened. They were married 15 years. He died in an auto accident. She never remarried. Okay. So she's coming to me, and she's been in her same job for 30 years.
Wow.
And she is ready to retire, but she's only 60. So the earliest she can take Social Security is 62 on her own record.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
But I was asking her, I said, well, what about widow's benefits? Because at 60 years old, you can apply for widow's benefits if you qualify. So what's the qualifier?
Yes.
Well, you can only make $56,000, I have this number written down somewhere, $56,500, a rounded number, in wage income and still file for a widow's benefit. Okay, so if you make more than that, let's say that her income was $80,000,
right,
then she wouldn't be able to. But since she wants to retire, she can go ahead and file on his work history and have some income coming in while she's waiting to claim her Social Security.
to help cover that gap.
To cover the gap. And this came up in the discussion of health insurance because we're working with her to help her find an affordable health insurance in order to fill the gap between 60 and 65 for Medicare.
Right, because Medicare doesn't kick in until 65.
Right, and she had mentioned, and she says, well, I made more than him, so it wouldn't work out for me to get a survivor's benefit. I said, oh, no.
You're like, let me stop you right there.
Right. Oh, yes, it would. So she's contacting Social Security, getting the information. We'll get back together in a week or so and figure out how much she'll be able to. I know that she'll have some benefit, but they were married 15 years, but he did die young, so there's a lot of zeros in that calculation.
But it's something,
That's what I said. I said, Connie, it's money that is due to you, and then we'll figure out what the right time for you to turn your own Social Security on.
Right.
So, there's that one. Now, there's a flip side to that as well. So let's say you're 63 or 65 and you want to retire and and your benefit, you want to go ahead and claim on your own benefit. You can claim on your own benefit and then at 70 switch to a spousal benefit.
Oh, wow.
For a survivor benefit.
Right.
It goes both ways.
Yes.
That's the only time that this goes both ways. Okay. Otherwise, when you file, if you're individual, or single, married, or divorced, when you file, it's deemed filing and the filing is done. This is what it is.
Right, it's a done deal.
Yeah,
right.
You can't switch around. But on a spousal benefit, on a survivor benefit, you absolutely can.
So interesting. So I know we're going to have to go to commercial quickly here, but I'm curious, if Connie had remarried, what would the implications have been then?
That's a good one too. As long as she didn't remarry before age 60.
Okay.
So if you're thinking about getting married and you're 59, would you please wait a year?
Yes, right. If you're madly in love, just postpone that wedding for Social Security benefit purposes.
Right, because she could still file on the spousal benefit, or excuse me, I keep saying that wrong, the survivor benefit.
Yes.
And after the age of 60, even if she's remarried.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many unknowns. And imagine if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I've never even heard some of this stuff before. My financial advisor hasn't even talked to me about some of these things. I know, Kathy, this is where you really specialize, is being able to help women navigate all these different complexities, no matter what their situation is. So if someone's watching and they're going, I need help, Kathy, help me. Yes, what do they need to do?
So basically, it starts with a phone call. And what we do is that when you call in, one of our wonderful teammates will answer the call and set you up with a Zoom call with me personally. And it's a 15-minute call, so it's not a lot, but it gives us an opportunity to get acquainted, especially if I can answer a question that's really on your mind at the time from anything that we talked about on the show today. And we'll also begin to discuss, is there other areas of your financial planning for retirement that you want some help with? That's an easy phone call to make. It's a lot of fun, 15 minutes, and we'll make it happen where we can get acquainted and visit.
Kathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but this is an excellent opportunity for you to pick up the phone and call the number on the bottom of your screen to get connected with Kathy and the team at Theia Financial for your own complimentary 15-minute Zoom call. Simply dial 866-724-4927. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few simple questions, and a member of the Theia Financial team will reach out to you to schedule your complimentary call that way as well. We have so much more to dive into as it relates to Social Security. You don't know what you don't know. What else might you not know about this important subject? Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
As your life unfolds, sometimes you don't see the future. You're in the moment. You're doing what you do in the moment, right? As an example, we have an orphanage in Kenya. Who would have ever dreamed we would do that? We didn't set out to do that. It happened. Worked for the 𝗂𝗏𝗏 world headquarters for about 20 years. And one day I thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be inside of what's happening in families. I want to be in people's lives. I decided to open a financial firm that is not geographically constrained, that anyone can get involved with, that was really focused on women. Because I feel like women have a little different priority. They see money a little differently than a lot of men do. Very accomplished women, very capable. They've been managing money their whole life. They understand the need to save, and they have saved money, and they have put time in to make sure they have a future retirement that works. They know that they need to reach out, and they know they need to work with a company that really can help them move forward securely. And that's our passion. That's what we're doing.
Well, welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Kathy Mendel. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and of course, I'm here in the studio with the one and only Kathy Mendel, the president and founder of Theia Financial. We are talking today about all things Social Security as it relates specifically to you, the accomplished woman. And Kathy, I know we've talked a lot about the different stages that a woman could be in. We were talking before this last commercial break about survivor benefits if you become a widow, which the statistics do show that women are typically outliving men. And I know the reality is it's never fun to plan for these things, but Kathy, one of the things that you are so passionate about is helping spouses, couples plan for the what if. What if a spouse or partner dies? So can you talk a little bit more about how you walk through that conversation with folks?
Well, I think it takes people by surprise a little bit when we begin to discuss. You know, we're looking at, so at Theia Financial, what we're going to do is we're going to build kind of this cornerstone, solid retirement income plan. That's the first step. And we're going to look at it sequentially, year by year. Which assets do you start? When do you turn things on? How does that affect taxes? Are you going to keep that rental your whole life? Is that money going to flow into your income store? I mean, we are going to look at everything. When we finally get down to the after-tax money that you're living on, and everybody's happy, and wow, I didn't have any idea that I could have that kind of a solid retirement. We're not talking about the potential of the market growing. We're looking at an income floor that gives you a solid retirement and then extra money for spending. One of the things I always do is talk to my clients about death. Because the fact is that it's very rare for a couple to go together. It just doesn't usually happen.
Right. It's not always like The Notebook, right? That scene where.
So whatever the couple likes to do for fun. So the last time I did this, which was recently, he's like in his early or mid 60s. She's in her early 60s, and they're putting their retirement plan together. And so I asked her, if your husband died, what would he die from? She goes, oh, he loves to ride his motorcycle. So I said, all right, let's pick a date. So we're killing him off in our meeting. So she says, well, let's, we chose the year. And I said, so, Charles is out riding his motorcycle. He hits a deer and he crashes into a tree and he dies. And it's tragic and it's horrible. What happens to the money? And so I asked both of them, what happens to the money for your wife? How is she going to live? And so what we do is I literally take his income sources that would go away off of the screen. And we look at it together. Is this going to be enough?
Right.
And I don't think people understand what takes place. As an example, one of the Social Securities goes away.
Yes.
Well, which one? If they're both the same, they lose 50% of their Social Security benefit, right? If one is bigger than the other, they keep the biggest one and lose the smallest one. If there's a pension, did they have a survivor's benefit? Well, yes. Well, how much is it? 50% or 75%. So we change that number. We look at the other assets that they have. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the whole picture. And I did this with a couple not long ago that it was such a shocking situation, and I couldn't believe that they didn't see it. But, you know, this is why our eyes are trained to look for the things that could derail or cause tremendous hardship, and a person's absolutely oblivious. So this was with Ken and Brenda. Ken was a fireman, moved to the area that I live in several years ago. He had a very large pension. It was like $130,000 a year.
Wow.
And he had a small Social Security, but a large pension. And Brenda had her Social Security about $2,200 a month. Well, they're living very, very happy. $160,000 a year of income.
I would say that's pretty
they
good,
didn't
right?
have that much in savings, though. They only had, you know, I don't know, about $300,000-400,000, but they had this huge income, so they were fine.
Right.
When we started talking, what I realized is that when he took his pension, he took it as a single life.
Oh.
No survivorship.
Okay.
So as we're working, I asked what are the circumstances that he might die.
Right, because what that means is that if he passes away, then she wouldn't get any of it, right?
None of it.
That's the distinction.
That was the distinction. So what we discovered was that she would go from $160,000 a year of income to $28,000 a year of income.
Wow. Wow.
Now that's not okay.
No.
At least from my maybe it was okay for them, but it wasn't okay.
But I'm sure they weren't even aware,
They
right?
were not
because
aware.
no one had sat down and shown them these numbers.
They sat there and their mouths just dropped open. And so what we ended up doing was putting a life insurance on Ken to give her some cash to make up for that difference. There wasn't any way we could put enough life insurance on him at the time for $130,000 a year, but she wasn't going to need that much anyway.
And there was no way to go back and reverse that decision that he had made with his pension.
No, it was done. It was already done. So what I'm saying is that when you're looking at this big picture of retirement, you've really got to pay attention to like what happens when someone passes away.
Yes.
What are my options? Now, there's another scenario here that comes into play, and that is what happens if your divorced spouse passes away. Okay, well, the same rules apply.
Wow.
You can step right into their Social Security benefit if it's higher than yours.
And a lot of people don't know that.
They don't know that. They might know that their spouse passed away, but they never thought to ask Social
ex-spouse,
Security.
right, yeah. Right.
They would never even think to call Social Security and ask about that. But that's another piece to that. So if you have like I said before with Connie, she started her Social Security early with a spousal benefit. She'll switch to her own later. And you can reverse that. There's a lot of ways to do this. What I am saying is that your financial plan, the floor of your financial plan, which is anything that's guaranteed, whether it's a guaranteed Social Security or an annuity or a pension or anything that's guaranteed that's not market related, needs to be substantial enough that you are comfortable through retirement covering your basic cost of living. You don't ever want to have to worry about that.
No, and here's the reality. I know a lot of people don't like to think about death, and it's never fun to think through those things, but when you are grieving, that is not the time, on top of everything else, that you now want to be, strapped with this financial burden. I mean, that example you shared, going from $160,000 a year to $28,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be miserable to only find out after the fact.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that is the most shocking about this is Ken, he died 3 years after our visit. He had a brain tumor, didn't know he had it. It was sudden, and he died. And that life insurance was the only thing she had.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was so grateful that they had come in, we had done our financial planning. They didn't need an income plan because they had a solid one, but they did need to address this one area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I know so many people watching are probably thinking, oh gosh, I need to get my ducks in a row. So if someone's thinking that, what do you want to say to them?
Yeah, the thing is that you can't do this on the weekend. This is not a weekend project. This is a project that takes time, and it takes time, and it takes working with the right people. We are those people, by the way, just if you were wondering. Theia Financial is just dedicated to the solid retirement income strategies and looking at all the aspects of that and helping you set yourself up for financial success in retirement. And that financial success means that you go into retirement not worried about money. And that's amazing. If you want to have a conversation about that, just pick up the phone, and when you call, we're going to schedule a 15-minute Zoom call. This gives us an opportunity to get acquainted. You can ask some burning questions if they're on your mind, but we can also learn a little bit about you, and then we can schedule time to visit later where we have more time to gather information and help you on your path towards retirement.
Kathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, again, that number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-4927, or you're welcome to scan that QR code to get connected to Kathy and the team at Theia Financial for your complimentary meeting as well. Listen, do something today that your future self is going to thank you for. This is an important phone call to make. It can change the trajectory of your financial future. How you make decisions today does and will impact your future, and we want you to be prepared. We have more to cover as it relates to Social Security and you as an accomplished woman right after this.
We've all experienced those coulda, shoulda, woulda moments. When it comes to retirement, there are no do-overs. At Theia Financial, we understand the importance of retirement planning and turning your savings into reliable income you can count on. Retirement is more than just financial security. It's about spending quality time with your loved ones, embracing your creativity and pursuing your life's passions, and discovering the countless marvels that make our world a truly remarkable place. With a belief in the power of preparation, we work with accomplished women to design personalized plans. Don't leave retirement planning up to chance. Take control of your financial future and turn your retirement dreams into a long-lasting reality. Contact us today to schedule your free consultation.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Kathy Mendel. I'm Kristen Oakley, and we have been talking today more in depth about Social Security, this amazing two-part series that we've had, Kathy. And, you know, I think it's important. We can't talk about Social Security without talking about what's going on in the news right now. And I know that I, as a financial educator, get this question a lot. A lot of people are questioning the solvency of Social Security. They're asking the question, will it be around for me when my time comes to start collecting it and claiming it? So I would love for you just to spend a few minutes sharing about what the problem is that Social Security is currently facing, and then how you help folks navigate this important question.
Right. It is kind of the elephant in the room when you're talking about Social Security, and I'm going to give you a very strong opinion about this.
All right, go for it. I love it.
Okay. There is no chance that Congress will let this program go south. There's no chance.
No one wants to be the administration that's responsible for that. Let's be real.
Actually, Congress tends to not address things until it's in a full-bore panic, or it's a political contention that will cause their party to win or lose. So I'm just going to say this. The way that Social Security works is that basically the Social Security benefits are paid with current Social Security taxes being paid. When you pay your taxes on your wages, the FICA taxes, that money is collected. That money actually pays out benefits to current retirees. When there is a surplus, that goes into a trust fund. There has only been 2 years where there was not a surplus, where they had to dip into the profits from the trust fund to cover the costs. This is not a surprise. Demographic research has told us that there would be more baby boomers than workers, more people collecting. This is a temporary problem that will go away. However, there are some adjustments that need to be made. And the trust fund is, like I said, it's funded by taxes collected. So there's 6 or 7 proposals that have been out there. On the Social Security website, it states that if you raise the taxes by 1%, where you split that between the employee and the employer, the whole problem is solved. 1%. Are we going to go there? No, we're going to make this harder than that.
Unfortunately, right?
I think so. So, you know, there's quite a few things. Let me get my list of what there is out there that's been talked about.
Because there's several proposals out there on how this can be fixed, and it can be really confusing to the average person listening to the news, trying to understand what's going on. So yes, break it down for us.
So another thing that they could do is raise the full retirement age. Instead of 67, it could become 68. So people delay just 1 more year. And a lot of people tell me, I don't plan on stopping working at 67.
And that's a change from previous generations.
Exactly,
too.
because life expectancy was so much shorter.
Yes.
So that would be one that they could do. That would solve the problem. That one change. Another one they can do is raise the earnings cap. So when you pay Social Security, you only pay it on a portion of your income, not everything you make. So I think this year it's $145,000 or somewhere in that range.
Right.
So the first $145,000, you pay Social Security taxes. Anything over that, you're not paying taxes on it. They could take that cap off.
Right.
You make $500,000, you pay Social Security taxes on everything you made. Okay, that's another proposal.
Yep.
The fourth option is to change how benefits are paid. So if you have a higher income, you actually get a little bit less. If you have a lower income, you get a little bit more. It's kind of balancing it out. And actually, people that I know that have ample resources have said to me, you know, Social Security isn't a bedrock in my financial picture, and they are fine with taking a little less and somebody else getting a little bit more. So just reshuffling the formula.
Reallocating that, yeah.
And then finally, there's one to adjust the cost of living calculation. That's my least favorite.
Okay.
If that comes up, vote no.
Okay,
please.
and why is that? Explain why that is.
Because cost of living adjustment is necessary for people who have Social Security as a portion
main
of their
source,
income,
yeah.
like 50% of their income is Social Security.
Right.
The fact is that last year we saw inflation go up 8%. That was huge to have that cost of living adjustment to help just pay the bills.
And we haven't had a cost of living adjustment every year. You know, that was unique to be able to get one and get one that high.
Right,
as well.
and this year it's supposed to be 3.1% is the cost of living adjustment for this year. If you mess with that, where you give less of a cost of living adjustment, all it does is make people's lives harder.
Yeah.
That is a necessary part of this program. So my point is that there will be a solution. There's 65 million Americans every month receiving a Social Security benefit. If that program went bankrupt, what would happen to those people? Well, we'd have to have another program.
Yeah.
It might not be called Social Security, it'll be called something else. But it would still, the money would still need to be there. So I just don't believe that any of our politicians, any of the people that are in charge of our government would allow that to happen. There are solutions out there that will work.
Absolutely. Well, the reality is none of us know what's going to happen, and it can be really scary when we hear about the potential insolvency of Social Security. But to your point, Kathy, it's important to plan for it and to plan as if you can only go with what you know and what you know today. And so if someone wants to come in or meet with you over Zoom and be able to have this important discussion about their Social Security, what is that going to look like? What is that meeting going to look like? What kind of questions are you going to ask, and how can they move forward to develop a plan for them?
Well, truly, I have to say, it's just so much fun to meet people from around the country calling in. We all have basically the same questions. We want to live well in retirement. We want to make the most of the assets that we have, and that includes Social Security.
Yes.
So the Social Security claiming decisions have to do with all the other assets that you have. The 401k, how long you plan to work, the health of your own personal health, how long you think you're going to live. It has to do with how much money you plan on spending in retirement. If you want to have a conversation about that, I am so happy to help you. Just give us a call, 866-724-4927.
Kathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we appreciate you watching. We hope you found this information to be valuable and beneficial for you in your individual situation. We encourage you, pick up the phone, make this important phone call, 866-724-4927. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week.